Search is over, now welcome to First Mint. Looking for NFT content, look no further cause this is it. From Top Shot to blockchain, they got the data chops, analysis, and pack drops, the show's equator hot. LG and Phil D, the best amongst others. Best brothers that happen to ball since the Ball brothers. So settle in cause it's time for the best show. Ayo Quad, who we reppin'? First Mint. Let's go.
Whoa!
Bonjour.
Hey.
What's up?
Ça va bien?
Phil, did you see? Okay, I'm just gonna go right into it. Did you see fake LG yesterday?
I don't know. I don't know if I like fake LG or fake Roham better, but fake LG was. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was quite unexpected. It was like, I don't know how I didn't see this first. This is the type of thing I would see first, and then
I figured
you know.
You'd send me that immediately.
But you sent it
somehow.
to me, and
yeah,
I did a little research. Like I went on that account, the fake LG account.
Yeah.
And
were you blocked from it? Were you blocked from it?
No.
Well,
okay,
so
not that I know of.
me.
No.
Okay.
Oh, you're blocked. You're actually.
I'm blocked. That's okay. So it's just a level set. Last night I got a message that there is a fake LG Doucette Twitter account. Okay, and it's literally the exact same handle, but with an underscore before. Now the photos is gone, but it had literally copied my profile photo, the banner photo. It was retweeting things that I said, and the way I found out is the Rage, whatever your name is.
Wow.
Like tweeted at me, being like, "Wow, LG Doucette finally follows me." And I was like, what the hell? And I went and clicked and I was like, I don't follow this guy. I should, but I don't. And then I realized that it was an imposter. So somebody was like retweeting me. And then somebody said that this account was sending them DMs, was messaging them.
Man.
Yeah.
So
fake LG parading around.
So by looking at the account, I know I have two people that I follow that also follow this account. So right away, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
Typically, that's how for me.
Suspended.
Like
it's suspended. It's been suspended.
Oh, because you asked us to, like, we all reported it.
Yes.
Right? So we got rid of this thing.
Yeah, I asked everybody on Twitter to report it because I didn't want anybody to get some phishing scams or give their freaking social security number to the wrong account or something like that.
So I ended up kind of doing a bit of research, and the only thing I was able to find is that this account has existed for a long time. Its first ever tweet, like that's in the history, was back in like 2006 or something like that, or no, 2009, and it was in all Spanish or like Portuguese. So a little weird. I don't really know what's going on, but someone obviously has an obsession with you. I sent you my list of people that I believe it is, or I gave you the number one suspect, and the number one suspect is definitely not listening to this right now. But we've come across quite a few people over the years, LG, that have an absolute obsession with not just us, but with the First Mint.
Do you think people are more obsessed with you or with me? Like, who's more likely to have like a dangerous stalker, you or me?
You, 100% you. It's you all the way, because for whatever
people love
reason,
people love you. People, when I talk to people in real life, like friends and stuff, they're like, man, I love your brother. Like, people freaking love you.
It's not about that. It's more that they don't take what I say seriously. When you say something, they take it so seriously that if whatever you said didn't turn to gold or become like the greatest thing ever, then you're immediately the biggest asshole on the planet. And they're like, yeah, the First Mint sucks. And this and that. You remember early on when we started doing the live show, we had quite a few haters in our chat that were like, "Oh yeah, don't listen to these guys. These guys will take you down into the ground." But that coincided with just the way NFTs worked back then and how everything dipped at the same time. Top Shot went down. We didn't take it down. The fact that we stopped talking about Top Shot had like some people in shambles.
I mean, we still talk about Top Shot. What do you mean?
We always do.
That's like the only sports project we still talk. It's the only one that's interesting.
But some people just couldn't handle, But anyways, we talked about this many times. You're always, if you have haters of any kind, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah.
You can't expect everybody to like you. That's what I know. Right.
Well, this wasn't hate. This is just somebody being an imposter.
This is bizarre, man.
This is bizarre. Weird. But the other thing too, it's like they could have just been trying to scam. You know what I mean? Might not be that.
Yeah. No, you're right.
It's not that they're like walking around as me in public. Like they might just be trying to pretend to be me so that they can DM people and be like, hey, you know, give me your seed phrase or something like that, right? Like, I need help. Send me $400 to this, you know, Venmo account or something.
I
like
need
that.
a seed phrase.
Yeah, or it's always, you know, stuff like this. I always find, you know, another thing we've been exposed to the last couple of years, and maybe this is what this account wanted, is like online beggars, right? Like people that come into your DMs and they're like, listen, like all my grandmas are dying. Like, can you send me $8? Like, it's always like a weird amount. You know what I mean? It's always $8. Like, it's not like, hey, I need a couple $1,000s. Like, it's always like, you have like,
that's more legitimate.
Do you have 0.0006 ETH you can send me? Like, it's always something.
But that goes right back to high school, Gene. I tell this story all the time. Where at lunchtime, there was always one or two kids that would go around asking everyone for a quarter. And usually you don't have a problem giving a kid a quarter. He would tell you, the same kid, he would tell you that he needs a quarter to buy his lunch. And you're like, oh man, that's cool. You know, I'll give you a quarter. But then he would ask all 400 or 500 other kids, or sorry, we didn't have that many in our high school. It was like 200. But he would ask every single kid for the same thing. If you do the math of this kid asking for a quarter at lunchtime every day to 200 kids and getting half of them to give him, this guy was making decent coin because he'd come in with new sneakers and all sorts of stuff. So
sneakers.
So anyone asking for 0.0008 or something like that, and asking 5 million people, if only a small portion of them say yes and actually give, then this person is making off like a bandit, right? So,
well, anyways, I don't think this is what we don't know what fake LG's intentions were, and now that their account has been suspended, I don't think we ever will. But I do want to give a shout out to anybody who saw that tweet yesterday. People just responding to that tweet saying that they blocked it and that they reported it. So thank you to everybody who did that. I don't think anybody was harmed. Oh, here we go. The Rouge, huge ego, sorry one. That's the guy's name. The Rage. Anyways, the guy who first tagged me and said that, you know, thanks for following me, but then it wasn't me. Here's what they DM them. Thanks for your reaction on my tweet. It's great to connect with you. I hope you're thriving and making the most of the present market conditions.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Well, you should have kept this person around a bit longer, LG. You shouldn't have got this person banned.
I don't know. I don't want to be responsible. Somebody like, you know, sends money to the wrong account or something like that.
I get it. But you should have invited them on the show or something. We needed to talk to them.
Like, they're not coming up. They're some weird scammer. Like that's an AI.
But if you look at like past tweets, they were retweeting someone the way they retweeted you. So you could tell who they were impersonating in the past by looking at their history of tweets. Is like a couple months ago, they were retweeting some other person a million times, like they retweeted you. So that was obviously part of.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. They keep switching people.
While we're talking about DMs, can I just show you some of the other recent Twitter DMs I've gotten from spam accounts? This one, I keep getting ones for like, you should come join my investment workout group.
Yo,
like this
LG.
guy. Here we go. Yo, LG, I just started a free group designed to help people in investing in Web3, etc. grow on Twitter. Your account fits well with our usual members. So I was wondering if you'd like to join. And then this guy is like this super ripped, jacked dude. And his, you know, that's his profile photo. And his Twitter bio is like helping investor add 6 figures in ARR with emails. CEO at Cold DM Cobras. And there's another one. This guy, Coach Rems. This is a different DM. LG, not saying I can help you yet, but I recently helped an agency owner called Simon see his abs and get ripped for the first time at 55 years old. And I'm looking to do the same for some other guys. Is it okay if I send over some more info? And then let's see what is Remy Sanders coaching. Maybe this guy's for real. This guy, he looks like a child.
No, look at the following.
This guy's like a child. What the fuck?
The other guy's more for real than this.
This guy's like, I got ripped, but you actually just went from being like 12 years old to 18. Like that's your body just grows.
This is very bizarre.
Oh, here we go. Yeah,
those are the best.
I don't know why they think that I need this. Like, do I give off like way out of shape vibes or like, you know, desperate to get a 6-pack vibes? Is that what
they want is you to either join this and actually at work, and then you tell the whole world, my God, this guy got me jacked, right? Or it's just like kind of like turned into a bot account that just sends the same message to a bunch of people. I actually believe more the Yo LG beginning of that message to not be a bot. Like that sounds like someone real, and it fits. But that first guy looks more like the next like Firefest guy. Right, like it looks like you'd be the next guy in charge of that.
Yes,
kind of crap,
somebody who's promising you that kind of money. Guaranteed that's what it is. Elijah Parker, investor launchpad.
I have a better idea for you. You want to get in real shape? Okay, here comes shameless plug. We should have music for this.
Here we go. I know what it's.
You need to join the First Mint Discord. Okay. First mint day one. Go buy one. Some members in there own like 20 of them. You can buy one off of them. You might even get a free trial from some of them. I've seen that before. But we have something called the Run Club in there. In LG this month, I've actually been very inactive the last 6 months. When it got cold here and icy and snowy, I got super discouraged when it came to running. I had started, for those who don't know, I had started last April for the first time in my life. I was never a runner. Like when I played high level hockey, our dad used to try and get me to run around the block. And as much as I could play hockey and stay on the ice for like a couple minutes at a time, running around the block, I just couldn't do it without like dying. Okay. I don't know what it was. And I'm kind of still like that. I don't know what it is. I just, either my legs are too big or they're too heavy. I don't really know what it is, but my legs get tired really, really fast when I haven't done anything for a while. So I started in April last year, and I set a target of, I think 40 or 50 kilometers per month. I ended up doing by midsummer like 125 a month or something like that. I was running 8 or 9K a day with a couple of days off in between.
I know. You're a machine.
And then when it got icy and snowy, I stopped. And that stop actually lasted like all of 6 months. I haven't done anything in 6 months. And it's really bad. So I started feeling sluggish again. Started feeling like and we're not talking physically here. Physically, I'm okay. I can still play sports and stuff. But we're talking even mentally. Like there's nights I go into a fog and it's just like, I know I'm in the fog, but I don't know why. I'm like, never felt this when I was running. So anyway, so back in the saddle now for this month. I've been running every day now for a couple of days.
Whoa.
I also did it because I'm the captain of the soccer team at work. We haven't had a team in 4 years. So I can't look like a complete jackass when I can't run from like more than 2 minutes. But for the first time ever, LG, there are more than 10 people. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people listening, but there are more than 10 people that are part of the First Mint Run Walk Club.
Whoa.
For the month of June.
Hold on, there was quite a few at first. When you started when Jimmy Mouton started it, because it wasn't you it was Jimmy Mouton, almost 2 years ago, came flying in there trying to promote Matrix Nifties and shit, and being like, you know what, guys, let's start a run club. I used to work at Nike. Let's all use a Nike running app. And then he did it for like 2 months, and he's like, I'm too busy, with the Matrix Q. And then Phil, like a fucking hero, took over the Run Club and has been running it for almost 2 years now and getting everybody's asses in shape. And
without rewards, though. Without rewards.
No rewards.
There were rewards before, like someone who accomplished the goal, because you set a goal every month.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Like I think I set the goal at 75 kilometers. That's a lot for 1 month.
Which is what? How many miles is that? Because nobody's going to understand.
It's got to be 40 or 50.
Like, because you said earlier that you were running about 120 kilometers a month, which is about 75 miles. So 75 kilometers is 46 miles. And goal is for people to run that much in 1 month, right? That's what you're saying.
Super, super intimidating for people. Yes, it is. It's super intimidating for people because you have all kinds of people in this group. You have marathon runners. We have a couple of marathon runners. When I set the goal to like 50 miles for the month, they do it in like 3 days. And it shows them on the leaderboard as being done. And you're just like, what's going on here, right? Shout out to Captain Plantain. That guy's a freaking animal, man. But he trains for marathons. He trains for marathons, man. So do, right?
But I think when you run marathons, I think it's like I think this, for people that don't run, maybe this is something that won't make as much sense. But going from like you run once a month to running like 4 times a week is incredibly hard. You know what I mean? Like actually starting to run is really fucking hard. And then once you run a lot, continuing to do it and fighting through injuries and managing that is also incredibly hard. But once you like graduate to like my like sleep and eat and life kind of revolves around being a runner, then those are the people who then just like every month they run a marathon. You know what I mean? They're just kind of constantly like running is their fucking thing. You know what I mean? Like they're not watching sports or anything like that. Like they run. Like they're spending their weeknights, they're running. They're not watching sport, maybe listen on the radio, but they run, and I was kind of like that like 5-6 years ago, like a little bit of getting to that. But it was too much. It was too much strain. Like it's too much on my body, too much on my time to train to be like, I'm going to run, 18 marathons a fucking year. Like that's crazy. But I'm happy for the people that
But you did run a marathon, right? Or was it?
I ran one marathon.
I ran one marathon. I remember that. We were tracking you online.
Yeah.
We were in communication with mom and dad. And there was one point where like, I think you stopped on the map or something happened. I don't know what. And like mom and dad were not freaking out, but they were like, uh-oh, what's going on here? And they were getting reports from your fiance who was on the course.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if she was following you or what, but I remember when your little icon there online, the tracker just stopped dead in its tracks. It was like full panic mode for a couple minutes there. Like, what happened to him?
It was the BMO marathon in Vancouver, I think in 2018 or 2017, one of those 2 years, 2018, I want to say. It was a hot day. That was hard, man. That was hard. The most I'd run, like, so that's what, like 42 kilometers, right? 26 miles. So the most I'd run was maybe 30K in one shot, which was also hard. But in the sun, a bit of a different thing. When you're at a race, your adrenaline's pumping, even though you're like, I have to go run for like 4 hours now. Like your adrenaline's like pumping at the start. And you're like, for some reason, I was like chatting with this dude I was running with for the first like 10K, even though I didn't know him. We were just chatting and I was like wasting my energy talking to him. What's funny is what I really enjoyed about this marathon, and I feel like I've said this to you and our family a few times, is that Vancouver is a very nice place to run, great place to be outdoors. They had along the way different entertainment booths, right? Like every couple kilometers, there's the drink station, right, where they're giving you little drinks or water or noon or whatever it is, Gatorade. And then in between those, there's entertainment stations, like where people are playing music, which is really lovely that people like volunteer their time or whatever it is, like little bands, solo artists, to like play music for you while you're running by. Like and Vancouver, that's the main Vancouver marathon. Like people come out for it. Like there's thousands of people lining the streets being like, yeah, you can do it. And they like read your name on your little penny tag thing. And they're like, go LG. Yeah. What's up? It is, no, I'm serious,
That's awesome.
And so it's a fun atmosphere. But what happens at the end of this marathon, or at least back then, is that, you kind of start up kind of in the midtown, you go out to the university, UBC, very beautiful, as Vancouver, Canada, beautiful place. But then you end up in Stanley Park, which is a beautiful, giant, like urban park, but you run around the outside of it and there's not really space for fans there. So like in the last, quarter, maybe fifth of the race, you're alone. There's no more cheering. There's no more fans, no drink stations. You have to go the whole way. And you're kind of like in the shade, which is better, but it's also like that's where like the mental part comes in. You're like, oh man, like I just need to run another like 30 minutes, but holy shit, I'm dying. Like that's where people are dropping off. And in the middle of this like long final stretch before you then return, then you kind of come back into town and then you finish like right downtown and, all these people are going berserk and you get, you finish. It's great. But in the middle of this long stretch, Phil, after there'd been like nothing for like half an hour, no entertainers, no drinks, anything, I saw one tent with one person singing, and it was an Elvis impersonator.
Oh my!
And he was cranking Elvis songs, and he'd clearly been doing this for like 4 hours at this point, and he's just singing all these this Elvis impersonator, like exactly what you're thinking in your head, like the crappy one down in Vegas, or not crappy, really good, but you know what I mean. And he's just standing there on the grass with like a microphone and one amp under a little tent, and he's just singing like whatever freaking Elvis music, and that made me laugh so much, man. Right at the whatever 3.5 hour mark, 3 hour mark I was at. So
I don't know how you laugh at 3 or 4 hour mark. I'd be absolutely dead.
Internally. It was internal. There was no smile. I think I smiled. I think I was like, I think I smiled a little bit. I think I thought I laughed, but I probably didn't. I was probably just grimaced and looked like I was dying, like most people at that point in the marathon. So, anyways,
that's a marathon though. Marathons are tough, but what I always encourage people to join. People tell me, listen, I'm super overweight. I don't run. I haven't run since I was a kid. But what people don't understand, and I can tell you that there's 3 or 4 people who've DM'd me from the first minute saying, honestly, it's really paid off for me. I don't even run in that thing. I actually walk, and I've lost like 20, 30 pounds in the 3 or 4 months that we've been doing this.
Yeah.
You don't have to run. And for me, obviously the first time ever, I didn't start running. I still do intervals. Like I don't run the entire 9K sometimes. If I'm not feeling it that night, I'll run. And then when I just can't take it anymore, I'll walk for a little bit and I'll pace myself and then I'll start running again. Right. It doesn't matter. As long as you're active, to be honest with you, in any way, shape, or form, you can put those kilometers in by walking, by running, by biking. It doesn't matter. But if you're hitting, I noticed, LG, because you know what? I would feel so guilty missing a day. When I was in full mode, I was like, man, I can't.
It messes you up.
Yeah. It really messes you up.
Yeah. Because you make it a habit, which is good. But then if you miss it, you're all like fucked up. Yeah.
Or on vacation. And I'm like, what's going to happen to me? Like, even when we went to Portugal last year, I was in my prime with this. And I'm like, okay, am I really going to go on vacation and run every day? I don't
It's
like
so
doing
hot
that.
in Portugal.
I just
So
don't like
hot.
doing that though. When you're on vacation,
Yeah.
you're on vacation. I don't want to have to.
But
think
you
about
ran when we went to NFT NYC a year ago when we were
I
at NFT
did,
NYC.
because that was
you were going out to like 4 a.m,
Yes.
cranking friggin'
Yeah.
vodka sodas or whatever you were drinking with Fenny and with freaking Cryptokyo,
Everybody,
and
absolutely everybody.
and Filthy and like all those guys.
Till 5 in the morning.
Till 5 in the morning, and then at 6:30 in the morning, you're like, and then you're texting in the group chat, be like, just ran through Central Park. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, Phil, your sleep
I was
schedule makes
also
no
late
sense.
to a meeting that we were supposed to have, LG, or actually we were supposed to meet up because I decided to go in Central Park, and I'm like, okay, I'm running out of days here. I want to run the entire thing.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize is I didn't realize how long the whole park. Like if you do the entire loop, it's like 13 or 14K. And I underestimated the length of it and how long it would take me, because it's really intimidating in Central Park.
Yeah.
If you go there and you claim to be a runner, you're going to have like 90-year-old grandpas running right by you. Even homeless people running by with like shopping carts run by you. You are not a somebody unless you're like, no, I'm serious. There was in the actual running lanes, there was a guy with a shopping cart and he was running faster than I was.
That just sounds like an episode of Seinfeld or something like that. Like now you're just writing an episode,
like
straight
that's
from
because Dumpster at
like,
Elm
like
and
with
Broadway has like new donuts in it. He's
like the guy, who's the guy in Seinfeld, like the runner who's staying at Elaine's house and they double check the alarm clocks and then her alarm clock doesn't, or Jerry's alarm clock doesn't work. Like he goes to Jerry's house, but then the power goes out. Like that kind of sounds like what you're describing.
Yeah. So it was intimidating
or something. His Jean-Claude, a French guy. Yeah. Anyways.
So that was a good experience because I had a lot of fun doing that. But again, back to the original point is that if you, running or walking, man, seriously, it makes such a difference in your life. I know it sounds boring and it sounds stupid, but it becomes super, super addictive once you see results. And I'm not talking about physical results. Yeah, physical results, like I lost some weight and stuff. But I don't really care about that stuff. It was more for me mentally. Every day at work, I felt like I had so much energy and I could be myself, as opposed to the last couple of weeks at work. I'm feeling like sluggish and I'm like kind of just, sometimes I'm not feeling it. And people are like, that's not you, right? And I'm like, okay, well, that's when I know I need to get back into it. So, but anyways, I'm super excited to see so many people participating this month. And you know, someone like our good friend Chandler, who 3 or 4 months ago told us, he told me anyways, like, dude, I can never do this. I'm like, listen, man, honestly, if you in this month go out 4 times a week and just walk for 1 mile, seriously, I don't care. You think you're overweight, you think you're this, you think you can never do it.
You can walk though. You can fucking walk.
Do that.
You can
just
walk,
dude.
Just walk. Just like
walk.
some parking lots in the US are a mile wide. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you have to park like the freaking Santa Show. You know what I mean? Like the freaking mall, the Walmart or the mall or something. Like walking through a mall for a day with your kids.
Anything
is walking. Like that's fucking exhausting for a reason because you're walking around. You know what's crazy, Phil, too, is like one of the best pieces of like propaganda advertising, I think, and now it's disgraced because it turns out he's a big pedo, is Jared from Subway. You remember that? God. He's like, I walked every day to eat a freaking, chicken teriyaki cold cut. And here's my giant fat guy pants. But that, like, I remember that shit, man. Like that is intense, and it's
that'll hit you hard.
It still makes sense.
Sure.
It still makes sense. Yeah, just get out there and start, especially now. People might feel like they didn't get their summer bodies in time and it's time to go on vacation. Doesn't matter. It's about being healthy. It's not about
that's exactly it. But unfortunately for a lot of people it is appearance too. But you have to start somewhere. That's the thing. And just getting out there and doing it is hard, because for me the hardest thing was the first time. I'm just like, man, all right, I'll start tomorrow. I'll restart tomorrow. I'll restart tomorrow. But I noticed that as long as I was hitting my target for each month, whether I missed 3 or 4 days, like when we went to Portugal, I missed 2 weeks. But I was able to complete the target for the month by doing the other 2 weeks of the month and getting those numbers in. And I realized that like nothing happened to me the 2 weeks that I missed. Everything stayed the same. Body-wise stayed the same. Mentally stayed the same. I was able to pick up where I left off when I came back.
There you go.
Right. So, but I think a lot of people, we don't talk too much in the group for the Run Club, but I think a lot of us share experiences in there. And a lot of us feed off each other. And there's that little competitive aspect because they show you on a leaderboard, right? And they show you who reaches the goal first. But it doesn't tell people how many minutes per mile or minutes per kilometer. So if you're just walking, nobody will know that. right? If you're cheating in one of those things, then hell, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's on you. Like, if you're riding in the car really slow around the neighborhood with like your phone and just to show people that you're like, dude, why are you like, there's no prize. Like, who cares? Like, I don't know. I think about it sometimes. Sometimes some people skyrocket up that lead.
It's like whenever I tried to play like Pokemon Go, or when I was playing NBA All World a couple months ago, but I'd play it while driving the car. And it would be like, say, it seems like you're in a car, are you? And you'd be like, no, I'm walking, I'm running, you know, and just lie to the app. And
shut up.
Just unnecessary lie. But anyways, that was good.
Really good stuff.
I will say it's not as easy for everybody to walk because you live in a nice area where it's it's beautiful. You're in the country. You can run to your Hortons, your local Hortons, and it's a nice distance. But there's a lot of places in the U.S., man, and in Canada as well, that it's like it's set up so you need to have a car, and it is not just that you can't walk to like a convenience store. Like, it's just areas where it's like weird to walk around in. Do you remember? I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago when Ricky Williams got like stopped by the police for just walking around. Obviously, that's part of a different issue.
Yes.
But there's like the body cam footage from the cops as they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm just walking around my hotel." Like, he was in some small town in Texas there for like a conference to do a speech, and he just went for a walk because Ricky Williams, is a bit of a likes to clear his head and just smokes weed and likes to, a bit of a hippie guy, right? Yeah. So he's like, I'm out just walking. And they're like, well, what are you doing? You're walking, and obviously suspected him. Part of a different issue, obviously. But then you can hear on the body cam footage where they're like, yo, this is actually Ricky Williams. Like, you can hear they're like
you always hear that.
They're like, anybody ever tell you look like Ricky Williams? He's like, I am Ricky Williams. And they're like, oh, and then they get his ID. They're like, oh shit, he's really Ricky Williams.
It's always funny to see cops buckle into that stuff all the time.
That's rough, man. And they know
all those Tiger Woods things were like that too, right? So
yeah, exactly. So it's anyways, that's a totally different topic and story, but that's just what it made me think of. That it's not there's some places I think where it's like it's weird if you're walking and people might feel kind of shy to do it. So worst case, if you really got to walk and there's nowhere near your house, drive to the mall and just walk around the mall, and then get yourself a little coffee at the end to reward yourself, whatever it is. Like Phil gets his Hortons tea or coffee every day, whatever that is. So, Phil, can I ask you? Let's totally switch gears here. I tweeted last week about how this is kind of like a dead spot in sports. People got mad. They're like, "What about F1 Montreal? What about the NBA draft?" Blah. Like, people went totally nuts. But let's be honest. Like, once the NBA and I guess maybe NHL season are done, most people get their evenings back, right? Especially compared to like 2 months ago. There's just nonstop action. It's great. But now it does feel like a weight's been lifting in a good way. Not that the NBA is a pain to watch, but it's like, okay, it's done. I can do something a little bit different with my evening because I'm not drawn to like sitting there and watching it the whole time.
Or waiting for it, yeah.
Because the 3-day breaks between NBA games, like, come on, man. Like, it's excessive. It's so long just to then know the Nuggets are going to win. But what would you, if you had to like rank the things that you're excited for in sports between now and the start of the NFL season? So now and after Labor Day, right? Until when the kids go back, or at least in Canada. I know some kids go back to school in August in the US, but for us in Canada, Labor Day, next day, first day of school, basically. That's about 2.5 months. What's your like ranking of most important sports events for you personally amongst everything, whether it's the draft this week, free agency? You can say like just the circus of the NBA, because every day there's something hilarious right now, like Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, like John Morant, all that stuff. But also like Tour de France, F1, lots of golf, right? MLB, home run derby, if that's something you care about still. What's your ranking, Phil? How do you rank those?
I think okay, speaking for this summer specifically, like I've got a lot, like I follow every possible sport on the planet. Cricket is maybe the only one that I don't follow, but I still know a lot about cricket because I have a lot of friends that do follow it, and actually neighbors are always talking about cricket. But I think this summer, what I'm most excited for now that the NHL, and there has been a void because I've been like, okay, I was used to every night there being an NHL or NBA playoff game.
Oh, so
right?
Good.
For the last like 2-3 months. That's how it's been. And now it's like, hold on, the Jays game, now that baseball has that pitch clock, games are done in 2 hours.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's like 9 p.m. and you're like, okay, what's next? You look on the calendar, there's nothing. It's like
unless on the East Coast, unless you want to watch like a West Coast game or something like that. But what are you going to
even watch, then? Like, they go by so fast, LG, that they start at 9 p.m. and they're done by like 11. Right. So so that's kind of not even on my mind anymore. But now it's more so I think the World Cup of basketball is a pretty big one that I'm looking forward to.
The
FIBA World Cup.
September though? Isn't that
it's in August, sometime in August. Yeah, it's August. I'm a little worried because it's right before the season, and you have a lot of players, especially Canadian players, for whatever reason.
It starts on August 25th, runs till September 10th.
Okay, so that's a bit out of the window.
No, but it's okay. That's okay. I mean, it's the end of the summer, but I think that still counts.
I think it's, and for me, I'm already worried because Canadians have a habit of like being like, oh, I want to get ready for the upcoming season. Meanwhile, the US, you may not get your primary players, but the guys that are being announced are still like star players. It's
exactly. Yeah.
That's the, but Canada, if you really want to have a chance for Canada, you have to have every single guy like Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett. They all have to be in. There can't be any of them missing.
If Canada,
Shea Gilgeous, right?
We have good players now. Like we could field a good team, but we would need the entire team. Like we need everybody there to give full effort. And I don't know. I don't know. Like, do you think that World Cup is more important for them than the Olympics? Like, how would you weigh that?
In this era of Canadian basketball, I would hope it is, to be honest with you. To the point where they all want to participate at the same time, but apparently they don't. Like you think you got like Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, RJ Barrett, Jamal Murray, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, his cousin, Nikhil, right? Like all those guys.
Nembhard brothers.
Nembhard, Benedict Mathurin, like all those
Benedict
guys.
Mathurin. Yeah, we have a lot of Shaded Sharp. Like it's a good Kelly Olynyk will be the center. He'll tear out somebody's arm. He'll rip Victor Wembanyama's arms right out of his sockets like he did with Kevin Love. Yeah.
Well, hey, look at that group for Canada though. You got like Porzingis in there.
So we're just pulling up the groupings for the FIBA World Cup. So there's 8 different groups. Canada's in Group H, and we are with Latvia, Lebanon, and France. So France could be pretty good. Obviously, France probably the top seed there, but Latvia should be pretty good, right?
They are. Latvia's good.
Yeah, like all those kind of Eastern European countries like them and Lithuania and stuff, always like kind of shocking how good they are.
Well, if you look at LaMelo Ball, when he went to play, I think it was it Latvia? It was one of those countries. I forgot where it was. Yeah. People were like, what the hell is this guy doing? But that was a whole other style of basketball that he kind of added to his repertoire, right? Like it's not the same as playing here. And Lebanon, actually, first time they make it in forever, they actually shocked the world or the Middle East world and the Asian conference when they swept through that in qualifiers, right? I was talking to one of our good friends from the First Mint, KJ, and he was telling me about some of the guys on that team, and they got some they don't have NBA players, but they have some star players that should make it interesting. So for Canada to even have a shot here, they need everybody to play.
Well, they need everybody to show up, and they need to show up to like I'm assuming that most teams, like including Canada, would have like a mini camp a couple weeks before or something like that, right? To
and it's great that Jamal Murray won the championship because I feel that if he hadn't, he might say, oh, well, I'm still bitter about that. And he wouldn't say that, but he would say, oh, I need this time to prepare for the upcoming
because he's still trying to achieve his goal. Whereas like now is a good time. It's like, all right, you did it. Like, obviously
he's the key.
Again.
He's the key, no matter what. Shea always plays. It's not a problem, but Jamal Murray is going to be the key to
we need him to be healthy. Right? Exactly.
But if you look at the groups, LG, every single group, you can pick a team and name probably an NBA player.
That's what I was going to say. So which teams have the most prominent like NBA presence? So obviously,
LaMelo Ball played in Lithuania. I have to correct
Lithuania. Okay, so who has the most NBA players here? The US in Group C.
Well, obviously. US is going to be all NBA players. Obviously, and they're in the same group as Giannis, right? Yeah, like that's huge.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Greece. Yeah, I was like, who's a Greek basketball player again? Right.
Yeah. So that group's got full of NBA talent in there.
Yeah.
The Group D, I know a lot of guys, you'll be surprised by this, but a lot of guys have that are American, have like Mexican roots and background. So you might see some guys there. I don't know. I know there's definitely Mexican players in the league. Lithuania, our good friend JV is going to be in there, right? So 100% he's playing.
Yeah, Valanciunas. Where's is Cameroon? Like, who does Embiid play for internationally? Who does he play with? Because he's Cameroonian, but also has French and I think American citizenship.
No, but he plays. I've never seen him play international basketball before, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So who does
he
play for? Not that
I don't know.
It matters that much, but like
Germany. Germany's going to be stacked. I saw their roster announced the other day.
They've got the
Wagner. Yeah, both brothers are on there, and so is Schroeder.
Yeah,
Schroeder's on there.
Yeah,
that's another one.
Dennis Schroeder.
Right? Australia, we'll see if Ben Simmons comes out of the woodwork and plays there, right?
Is Bogut still play? Does Andrew Bogut still play?
Probably internationally. Yeah, those guys should all come back.
Yeah, man. Where's Pau Gasol and Marc Gasol and stuff? Are they on Team Spain still?
No. Spain has way too many like world famous good players that are not in the NBA that are going to be playing in this event, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Spain. I feel like Spain. Yeah, Spain and Lithuania and all that. Like those are all the European players that are super good.
Oh, they're just unbelievable, right? Yeah. Slovenia, obviously. What's it? Luka plays for Slovenia, right?
Yeah.
If you go one group up, Puerto Rico is the surprising one. Like there's a ton of guys, and this is the same for baseball. Like Marcus Stroman pitched for Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic, right? So it's the guys who can't play for the U.S., but almost definitely have some roots in Puerto Rico. There's a ton of them, I'm sure.
That's right.
So that I expect that roster to be pretty stacked, and I'm probably forgetting some of the big name players.
Who else is there? You know, Australia also has Patty Mills.
Patty Mills, that's the other one, yeah, for sure.
There's
more too, not just Patty Mills, man.
Vucevic from?
Della Vedova is also Australian, I think.
Della Vedova.
No, not Della Vedova. Who am I thinking? Hold on. No. Is it? Yeah, I think so. He's still around.
Is Turkey in this? Was Sengun? Alperen Sengun? No, Turkey's not on here. Okay. Forget it. Where's Argentina? They make it? No Argentina this tournament?
No Argentina. Ever since Manu is gone, and Luis Scola was like their big player, right?
Brief Raptor, a very
still
brief
playing,
Raptor. Yeah.
I'm serious.
Of that. Who's coach for Team Canada, Phil?
Nick Nurse. How awkward is that, man? It's still Nick Nurse.
Super strange.
So but I mean, weird, right? Like
I don't think it's that weird, but mainly because like every player and coach as well, or like sports individual who has some kind of profound impact on the city through what happened on the court or on the field will always have an affiliation with that city through sponsorships. Like no you know, PK Subban in Montreal, like literally donated like $10 million to a hospital, children's hospital, like 3 years after he left or after he was traded. You know what I mean? So I think there's always going to be some love there. So I don't think it's that weird. Like Nick Nurse, even if he doesn't play for the Raptors anymore, even if the ending was bizarre, I still think at the end of the day, there's still an appeal for Nick Nurse in Canada. You know what I mean? Like Nick Nurse will be a known person in Canada for a long time and will always be able to do Canadian sponsorships for brands or whatever. So I think it's like naturally, and I think he enjoyed it here. I don't know, you know, obviously Raptors ending, who knows, but he was playing like shows with local bands like the Arkells and stuff, you know, all this fun stuff. So I think he enjoyed it. And I think him being the coach of Team Canada, that's a pretty damn good coach, honestly. Who's been our coach in the past? Who's been Team Canada coach in the past?
It's been a mix of people. Everything from I don't, you know, what a lot of people don't know is like the director of the whole program is RJ Barrett's dad, Rowan Barrett, who used to be like a huge player for, you know, for Canada. But I'm just surprised in two things. And I know our dad was all over this, but our dad didn't understand why the Raptors didn't make a play for Steve Nash to be hired as the Raptors coach, right? And that's a guy that I thought for sure, because Nick Nurse is not Canadian. I understand. And, you know, every camp is always based out of Toronto, or their headquarters are based out of Toronto all the time. You know, airport wise and flight wise, it's always going to be the base for the major sports. But I was a little surprised, though. I like I said, I thought that once he leaves Canada, I thought that would kind of, you know, detach him from anything in Canada. Yeah. And I thought Steve Nash would be like the perfect guy to kind of snoop in there and you know.
But Nash hasn't done anything. This is way better. Like
I know.
Championship coach. Like Nash, it didn't work in Brooklyn. Not that he's a bad coach, but it didn't work. Whereas Nurse, like, okay, I have the past coaches. So Nurse has been technically the coach of the
Jay Triano.
Jay Triano. That's what I was going to say. There's two interim coaches before Nick Nurse in 2019.
This came to my mind now.
Yeah. And before that, it was Jay Triano. If anybody knows, if anybody who's an American person or a non-Canadian is listening to the show, please write us in and tell us without Googling if you know who Jay Triano is. And then in between Jay Triano stints, Phil, Jay Triano was on and off for 20 years, was Leo Routens, who's one of the play-by-plays commentators for the Raptors right now. So
and his son is actually in the program too. He played at Syracuse. I forgot his name, but a lot of connections there. But you know,
I'm just saying there's no like, you have no like,
there's no prominent
championship level coaches.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'd still prefer Nick Nurse than some rando Canadian person who's.
But who the hell's coaching the U.S. team in that World Cup? It's not Coach K anymore. I know he's done with that. Who is it? I don't even know who it is. I have no clue. I do not know who's coaching the team.
It's not. It's Kerr, Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr's coaching the U.S. team. Wow,
that's what just came up.
That's impressive, actually. You'd think a guy like that who's got every championship in the planet, you know, and had a rough season with Golden State would kind of be.
5. So right now, the coaches listed on USAB.com, USABasketball.com is Steve Kerr, and the assistants are Ty Lue, Eric Spoelstra, and Mark Few.
Whoa, what a squad!
Yeah. So that's pretty intimidating compared to Nick Nurse still. Hey, but at least we have Nick Nurse and not Jay Triano. I'll put it that way. You know, like that's.
But Jay Triano actually became the assistant of the Raptors for years after that, or in between, right? So that's what I mean. There's a connection there between Raptors, Canada's only basketball team, and the national program, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's a little weird still that Nick Nurse is there. But that tournament should be a lot of fun as long as all the big players play. Unfortunately, time-wise for ULG on the West Coast, you are screwed. The games are from like 5 a.m. Eastern to 9 or 10 a.m. Eastern.
Or Sri Lanka, where are they? Where's the FIBA World Cup?
Indonesia. Also, so you're screwed. The games will be on between 2 and 8 a.m. for you. So
you're right. Yeah, they're in Indonesia and in the Philippines and stuff.
It's brutal for you. Back to sports. I mean, for me, there's like the British Open is the end of golf season, really.
Right.
There's a playoffs and stuff, but I never find the playoffs interesting anyways.
Okay.
The British Open's coming up. Home run derby used to be a thing. I'll keep my eye on it. I don't watch the All-Star game. I don't care for that anymore. What else? There's also, I love the Tour de France. I really do. I feel
like that's your thing. I feel like the Tour of anybody I know, you're the most into it. It's on my sports bucket list, like top 3 to attend the Tour de France and like just in a mountain stage. I want to be one of those people on the sidelines there where they're squeezing through the mountains and they're like elbow to elbow with people on the side that are holding flags that say like, you know, first mint is the best. You know? First mint. Are you saying that instead of playing a hockey game against Own the Moment, that you want us to go and do the Tour de France, like to put in a team and compete in the literally the hardest physical event that exists that is popular?
I don't know how they do it. Like, dude, they go 400 or 500 like hours a day at that pace. Like, no, I don't know how they survive.
I don't know how to do it like over and over. Like, even when I ran, I could, even though this sounds crazy, running a marathon, I was like, you know what? I know people who run 200-mile races. Like, I knew one guy. I used to run with this one guy. I don't even remember his name. But in Vancouver, the West Coast, there's a lot of like really extreme outdoorsy people who do really like masochistic, like insano things. And this one guy, he'd go run this race in the Alps like every 2 years, where it's like it's a 400-mile race through the mountains. Man. And you stop and just sleep on the grass and shit once in a while. And it takes you like the winning time is like 5 days and you just run. But even something like that, Phil, when I ran, I was like, I can understand how someone could go do that. Like, that makes sense to me. Right. And I've biked a lot as well. Like a mountain bike, I've always road biked ever since I moved out of the house, like, and have done some really long, 150-kilometer days on the road bike. I cannot imagine doing the Tour de France or anything similar to that. Like something that's, how many days is it in a row? 28 days?
21. Days? Like 21 days. It's like 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Of the most like intense biking you can imagine. Cause it's not just, hey, you're out there on your own. It's that there's hills.
Yeah. This ain't no joy.
It's that there's sprints, and it's that you are tight with hundreds of other cyclists. And if one dude freaking slips, you're going to like break your neck in the pileup. Like, that to me is crazy. Like in the marathon, somebody trips, it doesn't kill everybody. You know what I mean? Like, even in the pack, it doesn't matter if somebody falls down, like
people don't realize this.
People will run around them. But
these guys,
Tour de France is crazy.
The guys that are in the Tour de France, they actually do other tours before. Like there's the Giro d'Italia, there's the Spanish one too. So they're doing like 4 or 5 of them before the Tour de France, which is the longest of them, right?
Yeah.
But a couple of days ago in the Tour of Switzerland, I believe it's called, where a ton of the guys who are in the Tour de France use it as a warm-up event. A rider actually died going downhill. He went off the cliff in a crash and died. So this is not a joke. Like This is not your typical Sunday ride around the block with your family.
Are you serious?
Right?
Off a cliff?
Yeah, which is like, you know, when they go downhill. Yeah. So okay, so when they go downhill, you're always like, okay, what if something happens to this guy? Like he's flying into the mountain, but he went off the road and down like a huge like a cliff and landed in rocks or something and died. Like this, it's insane, right? It's a dangerous sport. It's super grueling. I love watching it despite the terrible hours. Like you have to wake up at 6 a.m. to watch it, and you don't really have 4 or 5 hours to watch the whole thing. So, but for me, it's more about like the scenery around in France is unbelievable, and it's a sport to admire. For those who don't cheat at the sport, you actually admire what they do so much, right? It's pretty incredible, man. But
you know who used to race, Phil, who used to race bikes is our grandfather on our mom's side.
Oh, I do remember that.
He used to race, and I have his journals that I like
Tour du Québec
got from mom. And so they used to racing, cycling used to be a very common competitive event in like a lot of places, especially in places like Montreal. It's not, it still kind of is, but it's not as prominent. Like you back in the 1930s and 40s, you'd open the newspaper and it'd be like, what's the latest news? Because there wasn't really like NHL wasn't really as prominent then. Maybe it was a bit of baseball, but people would read local sports news because those were the celebrities. There weren't really as many global sports celebrities. And bike racing was like front page news back then.
That's
like
crazy.
It was like, oh, this person freaking won their 3rd race in a row. Like same thing as kind of F1 style.
Insane.
And in Montreal, where he was when he was a young man, like he would race on his high school team, and he kept journal clippings where he'd clip out photos like of other racers in Montreal, like adult men racers, like of his favorite racers, and take newspaper clippings and keep them in this diary. And then when he got old enough, he was part of those races. And then he has other journals, and I have these where he's in it. He's in the newspaper. And you know what's funny, Phil, is like they'd win a race, and then the newspaper would be like, okay, let's have you pose for a photo. And they'd put them in a little studio, the backdrop. And then they would have them like sit on the bike and then have one foot up on a Coke bottle to stabilize themselves. Because you can't hold yourself on pedals on the bike, right? You fall over. So if you look closely, there's a Coke bottle under one of the pedals and their foot's like stabilized on it. So I have these hilarious newspaper clippings, amazing newspaper clippings of our grandfather racing bikes. So Phil, I'm just saying, you're talking about running, talking about routine. Bike racing is in your blood. It's in your heritage way more than running. I'm just saying. You're saying you got big legs, whatever you're saying, we were hockey. It comes from biking, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I like biking. It's just, I don't know, man. My ass gets sore right away on those things. It's all sweaty.
It's called a chamois. You got to wear the padded shorts. You got to get a big pad, right in your special area there.
And going uphill, I'd be like, screw this. I'm done with this.
It's pretty hard. Yeah, it's pretty awful.
I'll do the road course. But so listen, that's a good event. There's also obviously F1 for me, and this is crazy. I did want to bring this up a while back, and maybe I already did. But F1, what was it, 3-4 years ago, captured everyone's attention with the show Drive to Survive on Netflix. You had it captured the attention so much that they added 2 U.S. races because the U.S. fell in love with F1 out of nowhere.
There was no U.S. There's no North American races for a long time. Or I guess there
was Austin. Austin, Texas had one, but nobody even knew about it. It sucked. Yeah. It was whatever. Now they added Miami and they added Vegas. Okay. Because people were captured by the show to the point where corporate sponsors and everything were like, man, this is our new favorite thing. Holy shit, this is so cool. Now, F1 picked the absolute worst time to become the most boring sport on the planet, like it has right now. It is the same thing over and over again, every race. You have one car dominating everybody. They want to throw some excitement around like the guys who finish in the middle of the pack. But that's not exciting unless you have a narrator like you do on Drive to Survive that explains how much money is on the line for some of these middle of the pack teams. That's why people love that show. They're like, holy shit, there's that much going on during a race. But unfortunately, you don't see it on TV when Max Verstappen is leading the entire race. He's leading the race by a lot, and nobody cares. It's like a snooze fest. You know what the big story is from yesterday? He won another race, his 41st. Okay, it wasn't even close.
No.
The big story is that he rode the second half of the race with a dead bird on his car.
I saw that. Yeah.
Like that's the big story. And everyone's showing the clips of that. And like nobody cares about anything else. There's nothing else being talked about. Right? Like it's not good. It happened at the wrong time. It just did. right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's too bad.
It is too bad.
Like
I don't know what the
yeah.
problem is, but something needs to change. Like I've always said, find the best drivers in the world, give them all the same damn car.
Give them the same car. Yeah.
Give them 24 hours for their teams to work on that car. Okay. Do whatever you have to do in 24 hours. Not in the factory where you have more money in this and better experts and all that. No. Give them 24 hours for that crew to work on that car and get your ass out there. And then we're going to see over a season.
But the core of the sport, though, at the base was never like originally is a little less about the drivers than people think. Right. Like racing, like car racing for a long time and still now is about car companies competing with each other.
That's it.
Right. Like you go watch what's the movie Ford versus Ferrari with like Matt Damon, Christian Bale, right? Where it's Ford trying to build a race car for Le Mans. It's like that gives you a good example that it's like, yes, of course they need a good driver, but back then it's all about can we make a car better than Ferrari? You know, and that's what I kind of like about racing is that it is a little bit about who has the better car. But as a result, when you have a good driver in a car that's above everybody else, a generation above, then it's super boring because they win that year. And now the ones with the best car is Red Bull, who makes drinks. So it's not even, it doesn't even have that classic. Right. It's not even like, and it's great that they made a car. They're not a bad car manufacturer, but they don't make any other cars. So it's kind of, it's almost like I wish the car manufacturers in F1s, and this sounds so stupid when I say it, but it also would be more interesting if it was cars from companies that you can actually buy. Not that you can buy those cars, but if it was like, okay, it's, you know, the main manufacturers are like Ford and Toyota and Tesla, you know, like cars, you're like, okay, like I like the vibe of this brand, so I'm going to go buy their consumer sedan. Like that would almost make more sense than, does McLaren still have a team?
Yes.
Are they gone?
Yes.
They do? Okay, yeah.
Yep,
they suck. Did McLaren suck?
No, they're not. They're middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack. Okay, yeah. They used to be good, man, with like David Coulthard and stuff. Like McLaren was really good. Back in Williams too. Yeah, way back in the day, but that's changed. So anyways, I'm just saying that it's you know, the drama I think that's been carved out by Netflix is like it's about the drivers. And even when we used to watch it, it's about the drivers. But I think inherently at the beginning it's about the cars, right? But that's not as interesting to the average person that it's here's what's in the car. You know, that's
no, but it is. And like I said, it's unfortunate because we're at a stage where Verstappen is like dominating everything. And that's great typically, but it's not great when there's no racing involved. It's like,
there's nothing actually happening.
There's no one challenging. Here's the problem. So at least when Hamilton was on top, people are going to say, oh, Hamilton did the same for years. That's true, but he didn't win every race. He would be challenged every race. It was always a problem. And he would always have to kind of pull something incredible off to win some of these races, right?
Yeah, it was dramatic. It was dramatic when
it was dramatic. It was just more dramatic.
It was more.
Not that Verstappen is not. I mean, he's a tremendous driver. He's shown it, right? But they just picked a really bad time to be super lame. And the last season and a half have been super, super lame. And I get the feeling they're starting to lose the North American audience. I just do. So,
well, we'll think about next season. What would make next season of F1 more interesting than this one?
Just like more parity. More parity.
Is that gonna like what changes the parity in F1? Like how will Verstappen and Red Bull not win every race next year?
Someone else is gonna have to like they say it's about money, but it's not about money. It's not like Mercedes has the same amount of money.
Yeah,
it's not that they're not spending it and they don't want to finish first.
Yeah,
or any of the other competitors. It's sometimes LG. It's the engineers that they have on board. Like someone really important from Mercedes went to Red Bull, and that kind of changed everything, right?
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, like we're talking like these engineers and all these people that are involved behind the scenes, they switch teams, right? And they bring their secrets with them, and they brought the Mercedes secrets over to Red Bull. Now all of a sudden Red Bull's better. But I don't know. If I watch all kinds of racing, I watch F2, which is one level below F1. It's like the minor leagues of F1. And there's a different winner every single race. And it's just chaos at all times because the car
that's fun.
It's so fun. It is, but it's not as fun because the drivers are not as well known. So as much as the racing is fun, the whole thing is not as fun because it's not the guys that we know from TV, the superstars doing it. So I wish they would reverse roles in terms of take the racing from F2 and put it in F1 and put the, you know, and then you'd have a real interest.
I do like everybody having the same car. I think that's really interesting, you know, because then it's But at the same time, if you're trying to apply that to other sports, it sounds like a crazy person thing. Like horse racing, everybody should have the same horse. Like hockey, everybody should have the same stick. Or basketball, everyone should have the same shoes. Although there's more like
no, that's true. The horse racing one is a little, because I mean the jockeys race different horse all year.
Dude, name me a single horse racing jockey though. You don't give a shit about it's mainly the horses do the effort. No. You only know the horses. You can't. Nobody can name you a single.
That's jockey. Right. But only because these jockeys race like 1 million horses a year. Do you know what I mean? The F1 drivers don't race 1 million cars. They race that.
No,
right?
No.
I don't know. I feel like they've lost interest.
So. Would you be a jockey?
No, absolutely not. I don't go on horses, man. You know this. I don't go on horses.
Why don't you go on horses?
Because one time when I went to Cuba years ago, first time ever on a horse, I've heard horse
some terrible tourist.
First of all, the Christopher Reeve story for me is enough for not go on horses.
It's true. Yeah, it can be dangerous. Yeah, that's fair.
For me, animals that don't listen to you, I want nothing to do with. Okay. Horses, I knew this was going to happen. So I was saying, I don't want to go on a horse, but went to Cuba once and everyone decided to go on the horse thing. So I know this is not going to go well. I really don't want to do it. They convinced me to do it. I got on the horse and I told the group, I know for a fact, this is the horse that's not going to listen. Okay. Like I already know it. Sure enough, the group is like heading towards like the forest and my horse decides to like turn left and go some other direction. And I have no clue how to stop it, control it, do nothing. I'm screaming. Took forever for like the tour guide to come get me, but this damn horse wasn't listening. I just don't like horses. So the fact to race horses around a track, hell no. I much prefer an F1 car. I don't care how dangerous it is.
Oh, I wasn't asking you to pick one of these.
No, I know. Like, but F1 car, the problem is I don't fit in one. I guarantee you that, right? Like
you're too big for either of them.
Did you see Neymar?
Jockeys are tiny and also even F1
smaller.
drivers are small as well. Like
did you see Neymar recently jump into Lewis Hamilton's car? He's like, my hips don't fit in here. And they didn't. His hips actually didn't. Neymar's not a big dude, but his hips did not fit in the car. Lewis is like, well, you got to squeeze, man. And the guy like almost died trying to get in and out of the car.
Yeah, that's the one part I can't do, man. Yeah, I got wide hips, so there's no way I can't fit on any of that.
But, we're too tall too. You can't be. Yeah, you can't be tall.
I've had a good time riding horses. Not that I ride them all. That makes it sound like I ride them all.
When the hell do you ride horses, man?
I rode some horses. I've ridden some horses, man. I rode one in Ecuador once. That was cool. I knew somebody who had one back in Montreal, so I rode that a couple times. Horses can be nice. Just don't piss them off and they'll kick you in the freaking face. So, anyways, we talk about something else. Actually, Phil, we have a lot to talk about. Specifically, when it comes to who is going to be the guest co-host of the First Mint podcast, not starting next week, but the 2 weeks after. I have a lot to say about that, and I'm sure you do as well. After this word from our sponsor. With the MLS heating up this summer, there is no better time to step into a world of fantasy soccer and add a little hint of Web3. Pookie is a blockchain soccer prediction game that is free and easy to play. All you have to do is show up, grab your Pookie ball, and pick the scores of each match for the chance to win some Matic and other prizes. There are multiple tiers of balls and competitions, and many leagues reward up to 660 Matic each week. It's based on Polygon, so the gas fees are insanely low, like 2 cents. So sign up at the link below in our podcast description and start predicting today on Pookie. Whoa. Wow. They sold out there. Just a little word on the sponsor. They sold out their drop super fast last week. It sold out like instantly. Or in a couple of hours, we tweeted about it. But yeah, pretty good. You can play like the paid things for like $10, I think, on Matic. So it's pretty good. I think you can pay with credit card. So
I signed up for it.
You signed up. Yeah, you played a couple times. Yeah. So make sure you use the link that we have.
Also, a fun fact.
They'll be happy with that. Then they'll know people came from our show. Don't just go look it up. Use the link in the bio so that they know that we're advertising with us is effective.
You got to give us props here. Yeah.
Yeah, we need well, so the other people want to advertise with us so that we can make some peanuts or a couple pennies for lunch here and there. So anyways,
I have to say on that same note, completely unrelated though, there's Euro Cup qualifying in Europe, obviously, for 2024 Euro Cup.
2024, yeah.
And there is a player on Finland whose name is Pukki, and he scores a bunch of goals for them, and he scored a bunch of goals today for Finland. Just a fun fact.
Wow. Great name.
While we're on it. Yeah.
Pookie.gg. You did very well.
GG's in the chat.
After a good Finnish player. So that's pretty good. Yeah, Phil, I do want to circle back around to sports, and I do have some funny things to say, but I think what we do need to talk about when we have time is the First Mint co-host. So last week, let me just pull it up. So last week we announced, and we didn't talk about this on the show because we hadn't really fully decided what we were doing yet. But last week on Twitter, we announced that we are looking for a guest co-host. It feels like I go away literally all the freaking time, but I really don't. But I've got a bit of family travel coming up. And it's hard to do the show with some, place I don't have internet or anything. So we're looking for a co-host for the first 2 weeks of July. Applications open to everybody. Even if you're listening to this now, you can still apply. The deadline is in 2 days. It's on Wednesday, June 21st. And basically it's just as it sounds. Like you show up for like a 2-hour session sometime on the Monday. I think times will be figured out once we know who it is. And you record the show, same as I do with Phil. So you fill in, you get to play me for the week. You get to co-host with Phil.
Wow.
And we've had a lot of great co-hosts in the past who filled in for me, like Mike Zakarian and Little Newbie. Quad has done it many times. Plunge, obviously a co-host from the past. But yeah, this is a fun opportunity for any community member to sign up. Phil, have you gotten any feedback on this? Have you gotten any private, because we put out a Google form saying, please fill out this Google form. Have you gotten private pitches in your DMs trying to become the host?
I've had every single kind of DM since this came out of people people either thinking that I'm you, or people thinking that they can kind of cheat their way through however the process is going to work, which I guess to some people it wasn't really clear how this would all work, so they weren't sure. Yeah. But I had people kind of maneuver their way saying
it wasn't clear. It says then apply here. It's like literally it's a third line. But it's not. You're right. It's not obvious to everybody. People don't.
There was just a ton of people like from all sorts of different avenues that were messaging me, super excited about it and trying to find a way to get on. And I had people messaging me for other people saying like, "Hey, you see all that person being tagged like a million times? They'd be amazing. You got to pick them, right?" Yeah. So I was a little. I said, "Well, you know what? Contact LG. He'll tell you how it works."
Well, yeah. What's funny is one reaction that surprised me, and I got this from a few different people, and maybe they're listening. Is and the people that said this are people that host other shows, which is good. I want those people to apply. I don't know if they'll get picked, and we'll talk about selection process in a second. But one thing that surprised me is people that host other shows. Some that I know probably listen to the show. Others that I guarantee have never listened to the First Mint. Somebody sent it to them. They all DM'd me. Like I'm talking like 3 or 4 people DM me being like, "Oh, like hey, if you're down bad and you need a co-host, like I can fill in." And I'm like, no. Like, we don't need help. Like, there's no problem. Like, there's no issue. We're doing something fun, and they're like, oh, I was like, I have to apply. I was like, you have to apply like everybody else. Like, you have to go to the sheet and apply. And then like one guy literally wrote back. He's like, wow, we're gonna have a problem if I'm not chosen. I'm like, okay, buddy.
That'll get you chosen.
Yeah, not you.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very, the DM was, if it's not me, ... you made a mistake, is what somebody told me.
Yeah, that's a good pitch. That'll get you picked.
Yeah. So yeah, some interesting messages. I'll take a look. I think we're up to about a dozen submissions, and I don't know if we're going to get many more because the intake form was pretty simple. But Phil, I was thinking, and I mentioned this to you. Yes, we have 11 names so far. I think there's a handful of them that are jokes. Like one person literally filled it out, being like, haha, I'm just filling this out because I think it's funny. So I don't know if we have 11. I'd say we have closer to like 8 or 9. Phil, I was thinking, I hadn't really thought about how we're going to choose people because I didn't know how many people would apply. I think what we should do is like in 2 days on Wednesday, we should have like a very short live stream, like 45 minutes to an hour, where we do like a bracket and people have to compete through the bracket for something.
I like it.
You know what I mean? Like something where it's like, and we make it something arbitrary, like not us deciding, not the fans voting, but like a bracket where you have like a 3-question trivia for each round. And then if you lose, you're out. And then we'll work our way down to 2 people. And then maybe we'll do like a public round of voting for the last 2 people and people can choose.
I like it.
Something like that, right? Something like that would work.
That's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go.
A little competition.
And then through the live stream, people can get a taste of everybody and then pick their favorites, based on something like that. That's good.
Giving everyone a taste, because you can write all you want in terms of like resume wise, but if you're not, if you're not up to par, it does sometimes what you say in your resume and how you think people will be, it doesn't really work, right? So
and let's talk about in advance too. What's most important for a co-host here, right? Is it like obviously somebody who's good at hosting? Yes, that's important, but I think it has to be somebody who knows the show. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, who knows like our vibe, not that they have to be a direct replacement, but I think it has to be somebody like, we don't want somebody to come on here and be like, okay, let's talk about fucking Bitcoin ordinals all day. Like, no, we don't talk about that. You know what I Nothing wrong with Bitcoin ordinals. I'm sure it's a great community.
There was quite a few of those.
But you know what I'm saying? It's just like we need somebody who's going to be able to slot in and kind of continue, keep the vibe flowing, but also bring a little something new. So maybe for the round trivia should be, first mint lore based. I'm telling you that as an assignment, Phil.
Okay.
You're gonna be running the trivia. Yeah. Prepare questions for the trivia, Phil, please.
Okay.
That are kind of first mint related.
Of first mint trivia. Tons.
Yeah, I know.
So,
we have 300 plus
that'll
episodes
never be a
spaces worth of trivia. So okay, cool. So maybe we'll do that on Wednesday or Thursday or something like that. Run a little live stream and get everybody on. So
I think it's a great idea.
I'll figure this out after the show. I'll post in the podcast description. I'll put it in the email too that goes out, and we'll advertise for it and get people on stream and have a different co-host for 2 weeks. That'll be fun.
That'll be really fun. I mean, we'll miss you, LG, but I'm sure whoever wins that grand prize will be just as suitable, and hopefully they don't go too berserk on here. You might have some kind of rogue person go crazy, but I don't think so. I think it'll be fun.
I also ran a poll on First Mint that only 40 people voted on.
Oh my
Very
God.
few.
I didn't even see this.
Deadline is coming up. How should we pick the TFM co-host? Live stream reality show. Pick out of a hat. Most followers on Twitter. Best whoa impression. Here, I'll pick the one.
I gotta retweet
most
that. Hold
followers
on
on Twitter.
here.
So right now, live stream reality show is the leading vote getter with 46% of the vote, and second is best whoa impression. So it's clearly going to be a mix of that, probably Wednesday or Thursday night this week. So keep an eye out for it.
I got to retweet that. We need more than 40 votes on that. Sounds like
we
an
need more
absolute
votes,
shit show, but
yeah, we need.
Let me get that out there. Let's go. All right, hold on. Let me retweet that real quick, and then let's get that to 100 at least, so we see what.
Yeah, come on. We need your vote. Well, I mean, if you're listening to this, you can pop over to Twitter and vote in that right away. But otherwise, we're gonna need your vote next week when we're down to like 2 or 3 candidates to pick the person who's gonna win and get their butt on the show.
That thing did not even get a single like. So people were.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know. We have like a weird. You and I just both liked it. I think there's like a weird Twitter algorithm thing going right now, where it's like that thing got no action whatsoever, but it has 3,100 views, so it's 41 votes. So there's 3,000 people, 3,100 people who didn't vote. So.
All right, I'm all in on that tweet. There we go.
There we go. Okay, so that's live stream. Okay, so we're going to talk more about co-host later this week. So we'll probably post that. I'll probably post that episode in the podcast feed so you guys can listen to it audio only as well, because I'm sure that's going to be our first live stream in quite a while. So it should be super fun. Phil, here's a little bit of trivia for you.
Ooh.
Did you see which former 90s R&B artist performed yesterday at the BC Lions home opener?
Oh, I did not. Please enlighten me.
You didn't see this?
No, I did not see that.
Who do you think it is?
I was going to say Coolio, but Coolio's dead.
He's dead. Poor guy.
Man, no, it's not Bobby Brown either. That guy's not right.
No, a little more. Okay, I'll give you a hint. He was also an actor.
He was also an actor. And this is like late 90s, early 2000s. Was it Will Smith?
No. Could you imagine Will Smith has fallen so far that he now mainly just he performs at the BC Lions Canada, and BC Lions, for anybody who doesn't know, is a Canadian football team. Like in the CFL, we have 9 teams in the CFL. The BC Lions are the one out west. It's in Vancouver, and they had a person perform during the halftime yesterday. And a lot of people said, Phil, a lot of people said they're like, this should be the halftime at the Grey Cup, not
really?
At the BC Lions. Yes,
I have no idea who it is.
Okay,
like none.
Any last guess before I show you?
I can't think of anybody. Like Usher?
Close. You're close. You're very close. One of us definitely had their CD. One of their CDs.
MC Hammer?
That's too old. All right. It was none other than LL Cool J.
Oh my God.
Let's watch it. Here we go.
Go ahead.
You hear it?
I want a girl with extensions in her hair.
What in the world is going on?
What is
this? Is as far as you can fall, like anywhere.
What the fuck?
That is awful. Look, there's barely any fans. Too.
Nobody
like,
there.
Classic CFL games, man. Damn.
This is not. Listen. This CFL crowd are fans of a lot of different things.
What are we
I'm
watching?
going to tell you right now that LL Cool J is not necessarily their number one, like, nostalgic artist. Like, that is not necessarily the first person they're like, that's perfect for the BC Lions. Let's get LL Cool J. But I will say, to his credit, he looks like he's having a great time and giving it his all.
I have to say, LG, I don't think there's anyone there that was like, oh my God, we need to go to the BC Lions game tonight because LL Cool J is there.
Dude, that's because nobody knew it was happening, Phil. Like, I only caught this on Instagram.
Most people didn't even know
nobody
the game was going
knew
on.
that was happening. But yeah,
awful.
LL Cool J now playing the halftime of CFL home openers. That's, if you're wondering what's up with LL Cool J. Hey, listen, that's it. Listen, you know who else played for the BC Lions? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He played there before being in the WWE. So it's not a...
Yeah, but guess what? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson also right now, like everything he touches is a complete train wreck, man. The XFL, terrible numbers.
It's true. Yeah.
His movies, awful numbers.
He got his ass kicked out of the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, that's right.
He didn't get along with Vin Diesel. So yeah.
It's not going well for The Rock. Maybe he should go
I
back
think it's
to
going
wrestling.
really well. I mean, at the same time, I will say it's probably going super well for The Rock. Like, he's one of the world's most famous people, probably. So
yeah,
even
maybe he should go back to wrestling, man. I'll watch if he goes back.
Don't get me started on The Rock, because I already went on a crazy rant like a month ago about how he can't act for shit. So I don't want to be me. I don't want to bully The Rock anymore.
I forgot what triggered you, but something triggered you back then.
I think we were talking about Fast and Furious. I think that's mainly where I think we were talking about the release.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Wow. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. That's my little tidbit for the week, Phil. Is that LL Cool J is now all the way playing at the BC Lions. Phil, let's talk let's talk a little NBA, because that's the NBA offseason is always has become like just as good as the season almost, right? Where it's like it's super entertaining, especially in this age of player empowerment movement. You've got superstars changing teams every single summer. In the last 72 hours, we've got the Ja Morant suspension. We've got the Bradley Beal trade to Phoenix. We've got imminent movement maybe on Fred VanVleet, who's declined his player option, so he's gonna be a free agent. Damian Lillard, every 5 minutes he's gonna get traded, or he's gonna
every single day there's a new rumor.
Said he's gonna stay, but he's been saying that for a long time. Phil, what right now is top of mind for you in NBA draft week, free agency? Like, what is the top storyline for you?
I don't know. I mean, Draymond today declining his player option, becoming an unrestricted free agent. And I actually had some buddies who are not who don't watch either basketball that much, or maybe who don't follow the business side of it that much. And they said, why would a guy reject a 23.5 million or whatever the hell it was, 26 million? I don't know. Why would a guy reject that kind of option? They didn't understand why he's doing that. And for those who don't get it, it's because Draymond feels that he's only got 1 year left at that price tag. He feels his value per year is higher than that, and he wants to secure a long-term deal, paying him that much for the next 6 or 7 years, right? What if something happens to Draymond next year, or a career-changing injury? Then he's not set for the next 6 or 7 years. So as long as he feels his value is still around that much or more, then that's the right move to make. Fred VanVleet did the exact same thing. And I'll tell you right now, I would not pay Fred VanVleet to come back to the Raptors for that price. So for me, I get what VanVleet's doing. But if I'm the Raptors, I'm saying, see you later. Let's go somewhere else. I'm not paying him for 6 or 7 years to just be Fred VanVleet, because that's obviously not good enough to win championships. Unless, maybe if you combine them with star players, it would matter, which is why I think he might go to Phoenix or somewhere like that. But I'm not paying him. And Fred VanVleet knows somebody's paying him. He knows one of these teams, these random teams like the Rockets or something, are going to dish out the cash to pay him, right? So,
or like the Wizards, or like teams that often sign random free agents but have no direction whatsoever. Yeah. Which is like quite a few of them. Just look at the bottom of the standings, like the Pacers or something. You know what I mean? Like just, big mid-tier free agent signing, and then still miss the playoffs, or like get blown out of the play-in game or something like that. Like, I think it's interesting. I think VanVleet's an interesting situation, because it's like he was an important part of the championship team, but we haven't been that good with him as a starter. So it just doesn't really make sense to pay him that much. And I mean, you also see that it's like paying a player long term. I mean, honestly, people are saying that the Wizards got robbed for Beal, but people forget that they literally just signed him to a supermax a year ago.
Oh, they want
and
nothing to do with
that
that.
they are able to offload that contract
Oh, yeah.
and like basically open up the next 10 years of their franchise, because then you'd be committed. Like, what is it? Like the Beal contract is what, like 47 million for the next 3 years, and then 55 after that for like 4 years. Like it's like Bradley Beal, like there's going to be a team paying Bradley Beal $50 million a year in 5 years from now. Think about that for a second. And it is not, and the Wizards, for some reason, they signed him, somehow got out from that contract. They didn't get first rounders back, but I don't think that's like that awful, honestly, to just be able to get something out of that.
They weren't going to win championships with him, not now anyway. So it's like, I think they realized that pretty quick. And
suddenly around one player, like it doesn't really work that way. Like, that'd be pretty shocking.
The real question here, LG, is where the hell is LeBron James right now? Because LeBron has, and I say this almost every show, LeBron has a knack for when people are not talking about him, he somehow comes out with like something crazy, all right, to make it about himself. I haven't heard from this guy in like, I'd say like a week or two, or maybe even more. I don't know what he's up to or what he's cooking, but he's up to something. And I have a feeling now that the season's over, the draft's coming up, all things that are bigger events than LeBron James, I think he's going to come out of the woodwork with like something wild. I don't know what it is, but I think something's coming. I think something's got to give. What about Zion and guys like that? You know, what's New Orleans going to do with a guy like you're right. When you ask me my favorite sport of the next 2 months, it has to be the NBA offseason.
NBA offseason is just too good.
It's unbelievably good, right? Like
it's so wild.
It's nonstop. Like Chris Paul was on a talk show this morning in New York, like furious that he found out on a plane that he was being traded, like all this shit like that. You know what I mean?
Man,
it's comical. But we'll see. It's almost like dominoes, right? Like the way things fall in the NBA is one thing happens, leads to another. The Raptors now have a head coach, but the Raptors also understand that they don't have a franchise that can win a championship right now. Right? So what do you do?
Like, I think and obviously we're talking a lot of, Canadian sports here, and people by now are used to it. Like, this might be a really hard thing for Canadian basketball fans to hear, but the Raptors are pretty irrelevant right now. Like we're relevant from like a trade piece standpoint, but we're completely irrelevant as a contender. You know what I mean? Like I've seen some people on like the Raptors subreddit being like, why don't we trade for Dame? And it's like, no, that's not, you're going to insert Dame into this team and think it's going to work and get Dame and not give anything up, or give up like 4 first rounders over the next 4 years. Like, no, Masai is not going to do that for 34-year-old Damian Lillard. Like there's no way. No. And it's like, there's nothing, like the Raptors are interesting right now in the way that it's like, how are they going to rebuild, a young core, and clearly going to build around Scotty Barnes, because that's the only guy they weren't willing to give up last year. So it's like, how are they going to rebuild around him? Are they going to trade up in the draft to try and get Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson from, and that's why there's a lot of Blazers talk, that it's like a lot of teams want the OG Anunobis and the Pascal Siakams of the world, right? They need those guys as a complementary piece for title run. That's the only part where the Raptors are relevant right now. But there's no, like, I don't think people in Canada have really understood that's like the Raptors are not contenders, and they are not about to be contenders. And there's no amount of chess piece moving that you can make that would make them contenders. There's no magic Kawhi Leonard sitting there unhappy with his team, and where we have a number one option ready to trade for. You know what I mean? Like where we had DeRozan. Like that doesn't exist right now. There's no situation like that. There's no 28-year-old disgruntled star just sitting around mad at their team. Like that's the only way the Raptors won, was by scooping that in. So if you're the Raptors, you just kind of wait for those things to come along, because nobody wants to sign there. No big players want to sign in Toronto. It's not going to happen. So it is what it is. But
I still think I still think we hear from LeBron this week. The Lakers were unacceptable at times last year. Something's got to give over there. I think it's draft week now. I think we're due for a LeBron story of some kind that involves the Lakers or someone on the Lakers. Something's coming where LeBron James will have to come out to the public and say something. I don't know what it is.
Does he want? What does he want right now? If you're LeBron, we
don't know what the hell he wants. He's positioning himself now. He's trying to figure out how to win a championship. Again,
you want some good players on your team, right? You need some depth, but you want some good players on your team without giving up some of that depth.
You want to keep AD. He wants to keep.
You want to keep AD. You want to sign Fred VanVleet? Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's another option. That's another option
on a whatever entry level or whatever minimum deal to be the backup. I don't know, right? Like, what do you do if you're LeBron and you're like, okay, I have one more year, and then I'm going to go and get traded to wherever my son plays.
Right.
So this is you're in a year from now, you have to make the decision between trying to for another title when you're turning 40 or go to wherever, go to the freaking Rockets so you can play with Bronny Jr. So this is your last chance as a title. What do you do?
I'll tell you what LeBron's doing. And this is like a pure guess. Okay. But LeBron has an obsession with being the greatest of all time in everything. The fact that Tom Brady played till 45 years old, I promise you right now, despite LeBron saying he doesn't know about next year, blah, 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 LeBron is thinking of playing till he's 45. Okay. No matter what. He is nowhere near done.
I agree.
So I know a lot of Lakers fans, and we have some in our Discord, we're like blaming him for everything. But if you see his performance in some of these playoff games, for the age that he's at now, it is the most incredible thing ever that he can still do this kind of stuff. Okay. Maybe decision-making took a hit and things like that, but LeBron was still LeBron, still one of the greatest players in the league, no matter what. I think he goes and I think his goal is to play in the league with both his sons. He thinks both his sons are going to play in the league. All right. Bronny Jr. is almost guaranteed to play in the league.
Dude, I don't know. And Bryce Maximus isn't that good, is he?
Oh no, he is. He is. No,
he is really.
Yeah, he was at Sierra Canyon and everything this year.
He also
and now he's
but is he actually
schools.
good? Is he better?
He's much taller than Bronny Jr. now.
True, yeah, he is tall. I remember seeing how massive he is.
And I know he wears those goggles like Horace Grant used to wear.
Yeah,
but no, he's got some serious skill. He's like the quiet one, right? Like you can tell he's kind of just like he's been kind of not the forgotten one, but he's the one kind of like sneaking up on people. Whether he's good enough to play in the league, I have no idea. I don't know that kind of stuff. But I assume if he goes to a place like Sierra Canyon or one of those schools, that he's a talent of some kind. I mean, the guy dunks and everything, but a lot of people dunk.
Okay. So,
but I think LeBron wants to play in this league until both his sons, not just Bronny. Bronny's a year away. LeBron's not going anywhere next year. Trust me. Okay.
I think if you're LeBron, you have accepted the fact maybe that you can't just win a championship. Like you can't just blow your way to a championship anymore. Like it's never going to happen again. Like 2016 Cleveland, where it's like you or I guess Kyrie was on that team, but the year before that, where there was like Kyrie was injured, Kevin Love was injured, and it was him and Dellavedova, going all the way to the finals.
Yes.
And it's like it was like some of those performances, like people now literally say like that's the best a basketball player has ever played is LeBron in those prime of his career post Miami, those first couple post Miami years, that is the best he's ever been and the best any player has ever been. LeBron, if you're LeBron, you know that you're not about to be that player and that it's not smart for you to be that anyways, because you'll wear yourself out. You have to retire soon. So I think if you're LeBron, you're starting to think about how can I adapt my style to play for another 6 years, right? So that you can just be in the league, just be relevant. At the end of the day, like so long as you can hit a 3-pointer and kind of defend a little bit, you can play in the NBA, right? Like that's all you need to be like a decent bench player. So I think if you're LeBron, you're thinking about that. You're like, how can I adapt my style so that I maybe don't, dunk as much,
wear myself out too much.
Yeah, exactly. And
still be efficient.
Or you're like, okay, this next season, this is the last real shot I'm going to give at like really winning a title, wearing myself out. Convincing, Jeannie Buss and everybody to make all these moves for Chris Paul and Fred VanVleet and whoever else you need, like try and orchestrate it. And then after that, kind of enjoy a couple years of just kind of hanging out in the league, playing with the Suns, being kind of relevant, but just being this fun kind of old star, kind of the grandfather of the league kind of thing. Because also, if you think like when Jordan came back, he played at age 40 and 41, I think were his 2 seasons.
Yes.
And he was still pretty decent. He wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
He was good. Right. And
LeBron at whatever age will be a better option, just like Tom Brady was until the very end there, will be a better option than a ton of guys in this league. He's easier to blame for their playoff failures. But again, the things he did in the playoffs are things that most guys will never do in their lives at his age. Right. So
exactly.
I think he's sticking around. And I think he has interest, to be honest, LG. I think he has interest in staying in LA beyond this year. Because Bronny's going to school there, but he's only going to be in school for a year. Let's be honest.
UCLA.
But is it USC or UCLA? I think it's USC.
USC, you're right.
USC, right?
It's not UCLA. Yeah.
So they stayed local. The Lakers are the Lakers, a storied franchise. He wants to win another title with the Lakers. Let's be honest, right? And I could see him staying there. His family loves it there. They've got nice stuff going on there. And I could
LeBron is a mega celebrity. That's where you.
But how do the Lakers position themselves to get Bronny? Is the question.
Yeah.
What is LeBron really going to tank a whole year to try and do that? No chance. Right.
Well, I mean, listen, like where's Bronny going to go in the draft? Where is Bronny?
I don't
in the
know.
draft
That's a
rankings right
good
now?
question.
Like,
I
would
have no
Bronny
idea.
even be drafted if he wasn't LeBron's son? I'm not saying he's a bad basketball player, but there's only 2 rounds. There's only 2 rounds
Let's
in the
check.
NBA. You know, the NBA
2000
used to have unlimited rounds of drafts. I was looking this up earlier.
That's ridiculous.
Do you know there used to be 21 rounds of draft in the NBA from the
Well, how many
1960s?
roster spots are there in the NBA? Barely any. So
Barely any, but it's like
Yeah.
for the entire
Let's
60s, they had 20 plus rounds of drafts, and then they had 7 rounds of drafts until 1989, and then they shortened it to 2 rounds, Phil. So they used to draft like hundreds of freaking players.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous.
Insane. It's insane.
Okay. I'm looking at a mock draft from next year.
Yeah,
And
2024.
actually, I did not know this, but Bronny is projected to go 28th overall in the first round. So that means that LeBron actually does not have to tank and could actually he could actually, here's what's going to happen with LeBron is wherever they end up, okay, they're obviously going to have a shot at Bronny, right?
Yeah.
Because if he's not projected to the end of the first round, the Lakers have a pick. He'll probably bake that into his contract somehow, this new contract he signs, that you must draft Bronny at the draft, you know, something like that.
Well, because how hard is it to trade for the 28th pick? Not hard at all.
No,
like
you don't even have to.
You can orchestrate a trade so that who's going to have the 28th pick, like the Warriors or something. You know what I mean? Like who's going to be
don't even need to. You can just pick him with your pick because we're assuming the Lakers here are a playoff team anyways next year.
Yeah, exactly. Right? He'll be near your pick or
take him anyways. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Right.
Or not that he's going to go 28th, but you just whatever position you have in the draft, like assuming that nobody like hold on, what if this happened, Phil? What if it was like, okay, Lakers, have the 25th pick in the draft, and they trade up to like 15th to make sure that they can get Bronny James before anybody else does. But then whatever team finishes like 6th, like the Bulls or something, drafts him anyways, just to screw them over. Like what if somebody did that and then it becomes a whole drama of like, are they going to trade for him? You know what I mean? Like I think that'd be a little fun, right? So
LeBron has the luxury of actually waiting to see what happens and then picking where he wants to play. So as much as he may want that to happen with the Lakers, he can actually wait until the draft's over and then say, all right, I'm going to go sign here. So he already told all the teams, if you pick Bronny, I'm coming your way. So, and I do see that. Like, I don't get the feeling with Bronny and his dad that they're like competitive against each other. I think LeBron just knows he's so much better, and I don't think he knows his son will never achieve what he did. You know how there's some of these famous dads that are like super competitive. Like Vladdy Guerrero's dad strikes me as a guy like that. Like Vladdy
a little
strikes
intense.
me as a guy who, like, in the back of his mind, he's like, I hope he's never as good as me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though Vladdy has that potential, he sucks this year. But LeBron doesn't strike me as a guy that wants to like destroy his son. Like if he did, he'd let him go to another team and just and destroy him when he plays him, right? But he says
he's not like Jordan like that though. He's not Jordan, where it's like Jordan, again, like Last Dance, like he's pissed that he lost to the janitor guy, or whoever that guy was.
Yeah, that's right.
Like the security guy playing quarters against the wall. Like and Jordan still thinks about that, like it's LeBron is not built the same way.
No, it's different. So so I think it'll be interesting to follow. I mean, we're in for some as always with the NBA, we're in for some huge drama. Ja Morant, that's a whole other story. People are furious he didn't get suspended all year. Players Association's furious he got suspended more than like 5 games. It's a tug of war there. Now all of a sudden he's showing all the toy guns that he used to play with. I'm like, get out of here, man. This whole thing's it's never a shortage in the NBA of complete chaos, right?
That draft class, man, it's too bad.
Yeah.
That draft year is pretty twisted. Zion, whatever's wrong with him. What do you think is Zion's actual problem? Because last week or the week before, the whole thing about he did. I don't know if you guys follow this, listeners, but I'll recap it for you. I think it's 2 weeks ago. Zion posted an Instagram story that him and his girlfriend are doing a gender reveal because they're having a baby soon. And that's fun. They're doing a gender reveal. They post on Instagram. Everyone's having a good time. But then some other woman on Twitter starts talking about how like Zion has also been getting with her and that he's been lying to everybody and how he told her he was going to move her to New Orleans and like pay her to live there and goes on this huge like Twitter rant, and she says she has all these videos and like it gets really nasty. And then I don't know, then a few other like random Twitter accounts are like, yeah, me too, I also am banging Zion. And people saying Pelicans now potentially trying to trade him, not just probably because of the off court drama, but also because dude's played like 40 games in the last 3 years or something like that. Like just terrible either conditioning or his body's just another, he's another Greg Oden level player, which people have been saying since he was a Duke. Like for a long time, people said that he had the potential to be another bust despite his extreme talent. Phil, what's your take on the Zion situation?
It's hard because you try not to listen to these, these groupies and side chicks that keep coming out all over the place with these players. But the most recent one had a lot of receipts. Okay. She was pretty legit in terms of what Zion promised her. And, she really thought she had something going with him. And then he had, got this other girl pregnant. She had receipts. Like it wasn't a joke. And he fully ignored it, which he should. But what she said many times is your team told you need to be in better shape than you are. And instead of being in the gym, you're out fucking around doing other stuff. Yeah. And she's fully exposed him. And I can see that. I don't know if it's true, but I could see it with Zion. I could see where his work ethic is maybe not, we're not talking basketball wise, but other things is just not there. And I think that's probably a big problem with him. In the injuries is the weight too, right? Like, dude, you got to slim down a little bit to avoid these injuries. That's just how it is, right? Like, your nephew, he was huge when he was young. He was like, at one point, he was like 6 foot 220, but he was always hurt playing hockey because he's such a big kid. He plays recklessly. But so he really trimmed down and knock on wood, it's helped with his injuries. I always relate to that. You're less heavy on, right? The Zion harder they hit.
So Zion should come train at your house, is what you're saying. Zion should make a trip to Toronto, train with Phil's kid.
Join the First Mint Run Club, man.
I'd watch that reality show.
The First Mint.
I'd watch the reality show where Zion is sleeping like at your house, where he's like your guest, and you wake him up at 5 a.m. every morning to run to Hortons with him.
If I could outrun Zion, we have a serious problem. Like that should not be happening. So I hope that's not the case. But yeah, no, I think he just needs to take things more seriously. I think he's one that's had things handed to him on a silver platter since he was really young because of his talent.
It's tough when you're a star from being so young. Right?
And some stay motivated and some stay driven and some don't. Yeah. I guess with injuries like he's suffered, it's easy to lose motivation and you get caught up in all the side stuff of having gazillions of dollars in your bank account, right? Because I picture it all the time. Like if I was single and nothing to do and I just lived by myself, and I had millions of dollars in my bank account, do I just sit there and watch reality shows every night at home? Yeah, probably not, dude. Like I'm doing something, right? Like I'm spending my money somewhere, and I'm young. I'm early 20s. I'm gonna have a little fun. But now it's like hopefully this wakes him up a little bit, and we don't even know when he's gonna play next. Like you said, he's barely played the last whatever seasons. Yeah, and we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen with Zion, man. These big guys, it's tough. It's the same story with all the big guys sometimes, right? But it's not an excuse because you have a guy like Jokic. Go look at his pictures when he was younger. Little chub master there, right? But he takes, Jokic.
But he wasn't like a pro basketball player when he was fat.
Not at all.
Yeah, but even like Luka has been slimming down, right? Like, and you see a lot of players go through this. He's slimming down, getting stronger. Kyle Lowry. I know people think Kyle Lowry is like a kind of an old, kind of broken joke now, but same thing with the Raptors. He joined the Raptors, he's a little roly-poly, putting his body down during the playoffs, getting hurt, and then came back one year fit and in shape. And
but that shows commitment.
Right? Yeah.
It does. It just shows
he was ready to do it. Yeah, exactly. And he was ready to take his body to the next level for what needed to happen. Right.
It doesn't always work. It doesn't mean it's going to work, but you're showing that you're trying. Okay. You put in the work in the offseason. For me, Zion's a guy who just doesn't give a shit. Like I know he wants to play and he cares about playing, but to me, doesn't give a shit about kind of fixing his situation and avoiding all these injuries and stuff. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. That'll be part of the drama, I'm sure, if this continues with that guy.
Phil, we've only got a couple minutes because you got to run, and usually we would do hot take of the week, and we didn't have time to talk about Top Shot, but we're actually going to end on a bit more of an emotional note, something a bit more somber. I don't know if you caught any of this news this past week, but there's a fundraiser up for it now, so we're going to share that. But Jonathan Kam was he just passed away. Unfortunately, he was one of the team captains for the Clippers in the Top Shot community. And he passed away a week ago, unexpectedly, a Monday night. And there's a GoFundMe set up, I think, to kind of maybe help pay for some of the expenses. But, we've kind of had this community for 3 years now, 2.5 years. And we've never, I guess it's something that inevitably happens to communities is that, when you're big and you have a lot of different people in the network, this can happen. So a really sad thing that happened in the Top Shot community, Dapper community, sports community, this past week online. So yeah, all the best to him and or to his family, and anything else that we can do. There is a GoFundMe set up, and I see that Dapper Labs has actually contributed $5,000 to it, which is great. So
nice.
Good on Dapper, good on Roham and the team.
Nice
there.
gesture for sure.
Yeah, very nice gesture. So we're gonna put the link in there. I didn't know him. His screen name was Macnaj. I never interacted with him. I do chat with some of the team captains and do know them, but never I guess never really interacted with the Clippers side. But not an easy thing, I think, for the community to be going through right now, especially at a time when people should be celebrating NBA. Nuggets just won, drafts coming up. It's a fun time, but something to kind of bring us back down to earth a little bit. For sure. Yeah.
I mean, when you're a community that's tight, well, not necessarily, you don't have to be tight, but when you're a community that kind of, is into the same things, or, I mean, as time goes on, you're going to see some of these things, right? So it's unfortunate. Yeah. So condolences to his family, his friends, and I guess to the Clippers Top Shot community. Not an easy thing to go through. So we're going to post the link in the description as well. It's already way over the goal. They had put $5,000 and they're already at, looks like 18,000 now. So if you guys want to contribute a couple dollars or anything like that, please do. Or if you want to spread the word, I'm sure that they would appreciate it. I think this thing goes, I don't know when it closes, but yeah, I'm sure you'll still have a couple days to go through it. So don't like ending the show sad, but something that I think was really important for us to mention and get out there before we wrap up. So we'll leave it at that. And Phil, we'll be back next week with another great episode, and we're back later this week to talk co-hosts. And so I guess I'll see you again in a couple days. See ya. Oh no, I thought you were going to say something else, but I guess I can just end it there. Okay. I guess so happens when you end sad, that it's kind of like, okay, bye. But that's it. Like, I mean, when that happens on SportsCenter, they just put, picture on the screen and we go to commercial. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they do go to, out of respect, there's not too much else to say. And we'll see everybody in a week. And for the contest that we put out, it's maybe a good idea that we push it back a little bit, because I know that every time we put a contest out, LG, submissions continue to come in like well after we recorded the show. And I'll see some like decent ones. I'm like, oh shit, I guess that person doesn't know we record the same night, right? So we'll get to that next week, and hot takes, whatever you had for this week, LG, save them. And we'll do that. We'll maybe kick off 2 hot takes next week. We'll do 2 hot takes next week. And then another thing I really do want to talk about, this would be good after the draft next week, is talk about what Top Shot needs to do in the offseason. I think that's pretty important, right? It's gonna be season 5 next year. So what are the priorities for them? And I think that'll be a good way to kind of throw us into free agency in the summer with that. So anyways, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you later this week with a live stream to pick Top Shots, the First Mint's next great co-host.